Okay, so continuing with the completing of the square, 16 stays, and I have y half plus half the middle term, quantity squared, minus x plus half the middle term, quantity squared, equals 128. Alright? Now, just like with an ellipse, we look back at the standard form, and the equation needs to equal 1. So we are going to divide by 128. And so I'm going to end up with y plus 2 squared over 8 minus x plus 1 squared over 128 equals 1. There's my standard form. What do we get from that? Well, we get things. Darn right we do. Center, x plus 1 squared, y plus 2 squared. So the center is -1, -2. I see that a squared is 8, so a is 2 root 2. So I know my major vertices are going to be based off of the y value. So we'll have -1, comma, -2 plus or minus 2 root 2. I know b squared is 128, so b is going to be 8 root 2. So I actually know that my asymptotes are going to be y plus 2 equals, now remember this is the distance that I'm going up and down, and this is the distance that I'm going left and right, so my slope is actually 2 root 2 over 8 root 2. The root 2's cancel, 2 over 8 is 1/4. So it's going to be plus or minus 1/4 times x plus 1. And then the last thing would be the foci. So I know 128 plus 8 is going to be 136. So c is square root of 136, which is 2 root 34. So then my foci are going to be, and again this is going to be a vertical, so it'll be -1, comma, -2 plus or minus 2 root 34. Alright, next one. I want you to try this on your own. Identify the conic, write the conic in standard form, identify the key components of the conic. Pause the video, do this on your own, unpause when you're ready to check the work. Alright, so our standard form should be x plus 2 quantity squared over 3 minus y minus 5 quantity squared over 4 equals 1, which means our center is the point -2, 5. The a value is going to be the square root of 3, and the b value of this is the square root of 4, which is 2. So my major vertices, since the x squared quantity is positive, this is going to be a left and right, or a horizontal transverse major axis. So my major vertices are going to have the x value of the center be affected. So it'll be -2 plus or minus the square root of 3, comma 5. The asymptotes, I know it goes through the point -2, 5, and then the slope is going to be the change in the y values, which in this case is the b, over the change in the x values, which in this case is the a. So it'll be plus and minus 2 over root 3, So y minus 5 equals plus or minus 2 over root 3 times the quantity x plus 2 in point slope form. Normally we would rationalize something like that, but in this case I just left it so that you could see where the slope is coming from. And then the foci, a squared plus b squared is c squared, so 4 plus 3 is 7, c is the square root of 7. Again, since this is a horizontal major axis, this is going to be added and subtracted to the x value of the center. So negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 7, comma 5. If you're confused on where I came up with this, okay, first thing we did was we identified that this is a hyperbola because the a and the b have different signs. Alright, so then we group the x's and y's. This step. Factor out the leading coefficient in the x, which was 4, factor out the leading coefficient in the y, which was negative 3. So this became x squared plus 4x. Half of 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4. So I added 4 here. 4 times 4 is 16. When I factored out a negative 3, this became y squared minus 10y. Half of negative 10 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. But 25 times negative 3 is actually negative 75. Complete the square, so x squared plus 4x plus 4 factors into x plus 2 quantity squared. Y squared minus 10y plus 25 factors into y minus 5 quantity squared, and the right hand side became 12. I want this to be a 1, so I divided everything by 12. And that is how we ended up with our standard form. So, we need to know the standard form of a hyperbola, we need to know how to graph it, we need to know how to get critical information from it, including the center, the a and b. Remember, a does not have to be the larger value, a goes with the positive square term. We want to understand that the difference between the horizontal and the vertical transverse axis, the transverse axis is also the major axis. We want to know how to graph a hyperbola. So we plot points just like it was an ellipse, but then we draw a box and we draw some asymptotes and then we draw in the hyperbola curve. Also, don't forget the difference between the ellipse and the hyperbola. A squared plus b squared is c squared for a hyperbola. A squared minus b squared is c squared for an ellipse.